Speaking Task 1. You will be asked a question about a familiar topic. You will then have 15 seconds to prepare your response, and 45 seconds to speak.
Do you prefer using credit cards or cash for your purchases? Justify your preference with relevant reasons.
Prepare your response after the beep. Start speaking after the beep.
I prefer using cash for my purchases. There are a few reasons for this. Firstly, using cash helps me track my spending. With credit cards, it can be easy to overspend and lose track of how much money I have left. Secondly, it avoids any hidden fees or interest charges that may come with using credit cards. I don't like the idea of paying extra money for my purchases. Finally, cash is widely accepted everywhere, so I don't have to worry about whether a place accepts credit cards or not. Overall, using cash gives me peace of mind and helps me stay within my budget.
Speaking Task 2. You will read a short paragraph and then listen to a conversation between two people. You will have 50 seconds to read the paragraph. After, you will get a question about what you read and heard. You will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and then 60 seconds to give it. You have 50 seconds to read. Start reading after the beep. Now listen to the conversation between two people.
I totally disagree with Tim's proposal.
Why?
Well, look, Tim's my friend, but he's not your typical student. He stays up late partying every night, weeknights too.
If he parties every night, no wonder he can't pay attention.
Yes, and most students aren't like that. They come to class prepared and rested, and they can concentrate.
So you're saying the problem is really Tim?
Yes, he was in one of my classes last year, and whenever I looked at him, he was actually sleeping.
I guess if he's sleeping, he can't really know what's happening, what other people in class are doing.
Right. And you want to know what does happen in that last hour of seminar? In a lot of seminars that I've been in, that's when things get interesting.
Really?
Yes, that's usually when students get really involved in the discussion and start exchanging important ideas. And if the history department actually did what Tim suggests, well, if they did that, what would happen is you'd lose what might be the most worthwhile part of a seminar.
The woman expresses her opinion about the proposal described in the letter. Briefly summarize the proposal. Then state her opinion about the proposal and explain the reasons she gives for holding that opinion.
Prepare your response after the beep. Start speaking after the beep.
The proposal described in the letter suggests shortening the 3-hour history seminars to 2 hours. The woman disagrees with this proposal because she believes most students are able to concentrate for the entire 3-hour duration. She mentions that Tim, who is the one proposing the change, is not a typical student as he stays up late partying every night. She argues that other students come to class prepared and rested, making it possible for them to concentrate for the full 3 hours. The woman also mentions that in her experience, the last hour of the seminar is when the discussions become interesting and important ideas are exchanged. Therefore, she believes that shortening the seminar to 2 hours would result in the loss of the most valuable part of the class.
Speaking Task 3. You will read a short paragraph about an academic topic, then listen to a lecture about it. You will have 50 seconds to read the paragraph. After, you will get a question about what you read and heard. You will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and then 60 seconds to give it. You have 50 seconds to read. Start reading after the beep. Now listen to the lecture.
Picture a vial of a superconducting material cooled to just a few degrees above absolute zero. Because of the superconductive properties, it would carry an electric current indefinitely without losing any power. Amazing, isn't it? Just imagine, if a loop of superconductive wire was established 100 years ago with a current flowing through it and it was kept at the necessary low temperature, in theory, the current would still be flowing to this day. Now let's bring in the Meissner effect central to superconductivity. When a material becomes superconductive, it will start to expel all the magnetic fields from its interior, resulting in levitation. This is exactly how superconducting magnetically levitated trains, or maglev trains, work. These trains float above the tracks, eliminating friction and allowing for speeds that conventional trains can't even come close to. However, the current practical hurdle with superconductivity technology is that it requires chilling the materials to extremely low temperatures, which is both expensive and technologically challenging.
Using the examples from the lecture, explain the concept of superconductivity.
Prepare your response after the beep. Start speaking after the beep.
In the lecture, the professor explains the concept of superconductivity using 2 examples. The first example is about a loop of superconductive wire that was established 100 years ago and is still carrying an electric current today. This is because superconductors can carry an electric current indefinitely without losing any power. The second example is about superconducting magnetically levitated trains, also known as maglev trains. When a material becomes superconductive, it expels all the magnetic fields from its interior, which allows the trains to float above the tracks. This eliminates friction and allows for very high speeds. However, the current problem with superconductivity technology is that it requires chilling the materials to extremely low temperatures, which is expensive and difficult to do.
You will listen to a lecture about an academic topic. After, you will get a question about what you heard. You will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and then 60 seconds to give it. Now listen to the lecture.
Today's focus is on the Doppler effect, a fundamental aspect of wave phenomena, including sound and light. The Doppler effect explains why frequencies of waves change when their source moves relative to an observer. This observation occurs in two primary ways, namely the redshift and the blueshift methods. These methods are commonly applied in astronomical context to denote the movement of celestial bodies in relation to Earth. The redshift method refers to a situation where an object moves away from an observer. In this case, the wavelengths of light from this object are stretched, making them appear redder. This theory was a crucial component in developing the concept of an expanding universe, because scientists noted the redshift of distant galaxies, indicating that they are moving away from Earth. On the other hand, blueshift refers to an object moving closer to an observer. Here, the wavelengths of light from the object are compressed and depicted as catching a bluer color. An excellent example of the blueshift is the change in frequency and wavelength of a car's sound as it approaches and then passes an observer. By interpreting these shifts in color, scientists can calculate the velocity of a star or galaxy relative to the observer, providing crucial insights into the properties and behaviors of far-off celestial bodies.
Define the Doppler effect and describe how it works. Mention the two primary ways, redshift and blueshift, it is observed, and provide examples cited in the lecture.
Prepare your response after the beep. Start speaking after the beep.
The Doppler effect is when the frequency of waves changes when their source moves in relation to an observer. There are two main ways to observe this effect, redshift and blueshift. Redshift happens when an object moves away from an observer, causing the wavelengths of light to stretch and appear redder. An example of this is when scientists noticed that distant galaxies appeared redder, indicating that they were moving away from Earth. Blueshift occurs when an object moves closer to an observer, causing the wavelengths of light to compress and appear bluer. An example of this is when a car's sound changes as it approaches and passes by an observer. Scientists can use these color shifts to calculate the velocity of stars and galaxies, which helps them understand more about these celestial bodies.